All right, welcome back. You probably have not heard a whole lot about the incredibly depressing new study from Brown University. It takes a look at veteran suicides since 9/11. Take a look at this. A new study shows at least 30,000 suicides from the Iraq and Afghanistan wars since 9/11. 7,000 died in combat. More than 4 times the number of service members have committed suicide, or died by suicide, I should say, than died or killed in action. At the VA, they won't help or can't help with life-threatening illnesses or injuries because of the VA's crushing bureaucracy. They will use your tax dollars, though, now to fund sex change surgeries. Well, for Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz and Michael Waltz, it's all a little too much, both questioning Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley about the Pentagon's priorities at this hearing yesterday. This was at a House Armed Services Committee hearing. Austin and Milley rejected the accusations that the Pentagon is too woke.
I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend?
Interesting, though, that he equates critical race theory with Karl Marx and John Lennon. Well, publications like Reuters slammed both Gaetz and Waltz, and they lauded Milley for his response. And over on MSNBC, Lion Brian Williams, as some refer to him, got on his high horse as well. But let's be honest, he'd rather not talk about his combat experience. Williams and Reuters, pretty consistent with what we've heard and seen from other places. When people start asking critical questions about CRT in the military and elsewhere, and our military's never-ending wars, that's the type of response they get. Waltz tweeted this: "Hey Reuters, this isn't a right-wing uproar. I'm hearing directly from concerned parents and cadets and soldiers and veterans about CRT teachings that America is inherently evil. Get outside your media bubble," the congressman tweeted. Well, it is a good thing for Milley and Austin. This is a heck of a distraction. The efforts to modernize the U.S. military with wokeness, their defense for prioritizing things like CRT and sex change operations over at the VA, they come as we watch the Taliban retake wide swaths of Afghanistan. The U.S. withdrawal is not going well. No one wants to talk about how bad it is going because it shows how big of a failure of leadership the Afghan war has been. But anyone who's been paying attention knows that this would have been the same outcome last year or the year before that or the year before that. Afghanistan, of course, is the graveyard of empires. Do they still teach that at U.S. military academies? ABC News is reporting that Afghan soldiers have been handing over their U.S.-made military weapons and vehicles, and other Afghans who've remained loyal to Allied forces face almost certain execution once this withdrawal is complete and the Taliban moves into Kabul. Now, here's the truth as told to me by many military veterans of all ranks. Most generals are really just politicians, only they are not accountable to voters. Members of Congress are, so it is telling when we see the media attacking congressmen for criticizing the military's priorities. The problem that Waltz and Gaetz and others seem to have with wokeness isn't that we shouldn't be reading these books or talking about it. It's that we can't be celebrating the things that are taught in these books. Reading Mao or Marx or Lenin, that's a history lesson, but CRT is modern-day Marxism, so it shouldn't be celebrated. Milley is right about one thing. Being educated does mean understanding a wide range of perspectives, those you agree with and those you don't. But our question is, what will focusing on CRT and sex changes do to help with veteran suicides or the Afghan withdrawal? And we argue that these are way more important issues right now. The left and the media seem to be more interested, though, in trolling Gaetz and Waltz and defending Milley and Austin, then asking critical questions about what is apparently this generation's Vietnam. Joining us now to talk more about this is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman Gaetz, great to see you again.
Thanks for having me so much, John. And whether or not America remains a dominant force in the 21st century depends to whether we can post up on China. Today, China has the largest army in the world. They have an incredible increase in their naval production, and they are fielding hypersonic weapons while we are still researching them. In China, they're not studying white rage or white fragility or critical race theory. They're not having government-funded sex change operations for their military force. They're worried about capabilities and advancing their national interests. We need General Milley to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, not the chairman of the Woketopia. There's a difference between understanding critical race theory for situational awareness and embracing it. My questions to Secretary of Defense Austin proved that the Department of Defense isn't merely observing critical race theory,
Right.
They're adopting it. You know how you know that? When Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer criticized critical race theory, he was relieved of his command. So they are out there to get many Americans who have a right-leaning viewpoint or simply have a critique to offer of this leftist ideology that seems to be permeating the top levels of the DoD.
You know, and that's an important point. I want to play this clip from Christopher Rufo, who has this great video online. And, you know, his point is that we can't talk about CRT like it's in the abstract because it is here. It is already permeated in our federal government, and he specifically addresses that. Take a look.
Last year, I conducted a series of reports focused on agencies of the federal government. I discovered that the FBI was holding workshops on intersectionality theory. The Department of Homeland Security was telling white employees they were committing micro-inequities and had been socialized into oppressor roles. Finally, the Sandia National Laboratories, which designs America's nuclear arsenal, sent white male executives to a 3-day re-education camp, telling them that white male culture was analogous to the KKK, white supremacists, and mass killings.
You know, and that's just a sample of what's in our federal government right now. He also calls out specific critical race theorists. You know, and this is real. This is happening right now.
The American people hate critical race theory because they see that it is an ideology that tries to drive us to cause division with one another. And that is especially harmful in the military. What military members are telling me is that they want group cohesion. They want to be going through the same things, relying on one another, having each other's back. And with the imposition of critical race theory, you have the otherization of your fellow service member, and you build this sense of grievance culture rather than the sense of patriotism that has always animated our fighting force. Our criticism is not of our service members. We are criticizing the ideology at the Pentagon that is at odds with the patriotism of our service members.
You know, one of the criticisms for you on this is, what the hell does Matt Gaetz know? He's never served in the military, but you do represent one of the most heavily saturated military districts. You know, you also kind of famously went against President Trump when it came to war powers in Iran. You probably not want to mention that right now, but you've been pretty consistent about this. Ending these wars we can't win. The best way to keep America strong is to have a strong military that doesn't invite provocative activity by countries like China.
I didn't serve in the military, but I serve the military. My district has one of the highest concentrations of active duty military in the country, and I see every day the consequences of these extended deployments. I see the veteran suicide. I see the drug addiction. I see the disrupted parenting, the child abuse, all of the scourges that come with continuing to be at war in places for unknowable gain. And when the senior leadership of the military is known for quite some time that the objectives that they were given were largely unachievable. Let's bring our troops home. Let's rebuild America before we rebuild Kandahar. And let's ensure that no matter what the military mission is in the future, whether it's China, Iran, North Korea, that we are focused on vanquishing any foe and building our capabilities, not building this fragility that we're all so aggrieved and, you know, there has to be something wrong with people based on the color of their skin. There's nothing wrong with Americans who are white. There's nothing wrong with Americans who are black or any other color. We ought to judge people based on the contributions that they make, based on their character, not based on the color of their skin.
That's right. One side thinks you have unlimited potential. One side believes your entire future is based on the color of your skin. We know which side you're on. Congressman Matt Gaetz, talk to you soon.
Thanks, John. Much appreciated.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.